Welcome CSC103 class to an updated version of rock, paper, scissors to more closely match what we've been doing in class so that the variables kind of match up a little bit better. And I also cover the process where we don't really do the HTML too much. We just focus on the JavaScript more than anything, and we'll see how far we get. We may eventually put a reset button on it. Let's just review what we did in class. Here's this sample again. You hit rock. Under this area here, the rock image will appear. And if it can beat scissors, you get a message that says you win because I won. And it also gives the reason because rock crushes scissors. If I try it again, I might lose. It says computer wins, and now paper covers rock is the reason. There may be a stalemate if they're the same, and they'll show up in blue. So it's green if you win, red if you lose, blue if it's a tie. And it works the same way with paper, only this time I choose paper, and whatever comes up against it, I would lose because the scissors cuts paper. If I match up against a rock, you could see I win. And obviously there'd be a stalemate that way. And same thing with scissors. This time I pick scissors, and if computer picks scissors, there's a stalemate. This image here is coming from an array of images that are basically stored online that are showing up here in CodePen. Eventually we'll do it so that if you win 3, these buttons will become disabled and we can have a reset button. But let's get started with this because I have some things to make it go a little bit quicker if you weren't in class and you're doing it on your own. If you go to Documents and Resources, here's the instructions that you could click on. That's this thing. That's this thing. Those are the instructions here. That should follow the way we did it in class. And it's a bunch of pages, so I think there's like 6 pages here. So there's a lot of things to kind of go through here, and I put the things in red as most important. And then what you can also do is I put a link to some text here that you could use to get you started with the variables and the HTML and the CSS so that you could just pretty much work on the JavaScript. It'll be a little bit quicker than fumbling through the HTML, which can take a while and is really prone to mistakes based on the way a lot of the elements are nested inside each other. So I'm going to click on this link. And we have HTML with an HTML comment. We have CSS just a little bit with a CSS comment. And we have JavaScript with a JavaScript comment. And we're going to copy those into our panes in CodePen. And I'm going to go to CodePen here, and I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to create a new pen, and I'll hit save. And I'm going to copy and paste some of this HTML first, starting with the comment right through to the body tag. I'll just Control-C or Command-C, and then come back here. And I'm going to paste here in my HTML, and there's my HTML. And when you paste it, I'd recommend doing this, going to this little arrow here and choosing Tidy HTML, because it'll help you indent things, and it'll be a little easier to see the HTML when we need to look at it. It'll kind of clean it up and format it really nicely. And we can see that we have a container, and then there's this thing, there's a container here, and then they're going to be put side by side with a float. Images are going to be floated inside of there. Actually, the whole areas will be floated side by side inside a container area that'll have a blue background. You might say, where's the blue background? If I go here and copy the CSS, you'll see the blue background and you'll see the floats in action. So I'm going to copy that and put that in the CSS pane. And then finally, I'll copy the JavaScript. These are mainly variables. Well, they're all variables. So I'm going to copy those and put them in here. And that will be in the JavaScript. And one thing just to point out is with this container has a blue background. It's not there for any purpose other than to just see it better. When we did the HTML, we would kind of give that a blue background just so we can understand that we're seeing the container, that these things are inside there, and they're both floating left. And they actually have a margin to the right of them. So when we put images in there, the images are going to go right below here, below these in divs that are called Y choice and C choice. And that's what we're going to look at first. So we're going to take a look at our JavaScript first because our HTML looks okay. Everything looks fine. It should look like this to start. And here's our variables. We have 6 of them, which 3 of them are messages that describe when you win, when rock wins or paper wins and scissor wins against their opponent. And then there's 2 messages, one that says you win. So when you win, that's going to be first. And when you lose, it's going to say computer wins. We could have put you lose, but we put computer wins. And then we only have one message that says stalemate, try again when it's a tie. Now these messages up here, the you win and computer wins, will be put together with kind of a description of why you either won or lost based on what item beats what item. So these messages will be put together. It'll say you win, and then it'll have a reason of why you won. either rock crushes scissors, paper covers rock because you beat one of them, or for the same reason why you lost. You're going to lose for the same reasons that you had a rock and then paper covers rock. So they'll get put together by concatenation, which we'll talk about later. And then also we have our variables here. These are our images that are going to be inserted into our HTML. We have a place in HTML, yChoice, which is a div with nothing in it, and cChoice, which is a div with nothing in it. And they have ID names, yChoice and cChoice, and we're going to put HTML code in there. And you might say, well, how are we going to put HTML code in there? And we're going to do that by actually enclosing it in a string. You could see these variables basically represent a string because they have quotes, and inside that string is actually a HTML tag. It's an image source tag, and then it also has a URL. That's why there's two sets of quotes. There's single quotes on the inside and double quotes on the outside. You can reverse these if you want, but this is the way I put it in here with double quotes on the outside. And then also, after we have these three variables that represent these URLs or these image source elements, then we also put these variables in a list or an array that we're going to choose from using a random number or just using one of the images to display. And that's what we're going to try to do first. We're just going to make a function up here. So after this last variable, we're going to make a function. We'll just use the function keyword and we'll call it PickRock, all lowercase, and use our two curly braces. And then inside here, all we're going to do first is just display the rock. So we're going to say document and choose document if these come up here and put a dot and then get. And then we're going to choose element by ID. We've been using that one. That selector, that get element by ID. And we're going to use yChoice because that's where we're putting it right now. So I'm going to say yChoice. And then we're going to say dot inner HTML. Then we're going to use dot inner HTML and say equals. And we could just choose rock image. And we'll put a semicolon to finish that off. And what we want to do is just see if we could see it. Before we put any event on our button to make that rock button actually work, let's just see if our image shows up. And we could do that by just calling our function by saying PickRock. And I could put a semicolon here. And our rock should show up. And that means it's working. I tried it before and I actually had an N in there by mistake. So if there's one little thing wrong, it could throw off everything. So our rock's working. And if you just wanted to, you could try anything else. I'm just doing this just to try it. You could try anything else. But over on the other side, I'm going to just copy that and paste this. And instead of a rock image, let's try scissors image. And it's showing up here because we have to change this to cChoice. That should be in the next div. And now we have rock and we have scissors. The reason it put scissors over top that one, because whatever you put first, the next one replaced it. That's why it was putting scissors on top. But now we have images in our own separate places, so they're working. And now we don't have them set up randomly yet, but they're working right now. And what's going to happen is this isn't going to be, well, this will be rock image. This one will be fine because when we use PickRock, we're going to show a rock image there. So that's fine. Now what's going to happen here is we're actually going to use one of the elements from this, or one of the variables from this array. So we have an array called rnImage, and let me just put in rnImage. And in square, see, it's putting all three right now. Actually, it's putting all three right now because that's the entire array. We don't, if we put square brackets here and we put, let's say, a 1, that will put paper because this goes 0, 1, and 2. Those are the index numbers of that array, 0, 1, and 2. And if we use 1, it's choosing paper. So that's working okay. And we're actually going to put a random number in here instead of 0, 1, and 2. But we could see if these are all working. If I put 2 here, that should be a scissors. And if I put a 0, that should be the rock. So these are all working. Now we're going to take this out of here. And let me just cut this out of here. And we're going to go back to our HTML. We're going to do this without using an add event listener. And I'm going to go up here. And right after the rock button quote, I'm going to put a space and put on click. And if on click comes up, just click on it. And then put equals and put quotes right away. And then paste this in here. Now get rid of the semicolon. You don't need that, but you do need the parentheses. So it should look like that. And that will basically activate that button. So when you click it, it'll put the rock and it'll put whatever we had there, which is still the rock. Now we're going to make a random number so that it could put a random image over there. So what we have to do for the random number, now we already did this, so I'm not going to go over the whole steps, but we're going to make a variable right in here, Now keep in mind, we're still using var. We're not using let or anything like that. We're just going to stick with var. We're going to say var rn equals, and it's going to be math.random. And we could just do times 3 so that it multiplies by 3 so that it's a number greater than 1, because remember, it only goes up to 1 initially. And we could do this in 2 lines here, and then we're going to reassign it and say rn equals. And we're just going to basically do a math.floor, which will round it down. And make sure you use a capital M for math and a small f for floor and a small r for random. And I'll put a semicolon there. Now that just creates a number, a random number from 0 to 3, not including 3. So if it's 0, 1, and 2. Now when we do this, we're going to get rid of this, and instead of putting an absolute number in there, we're going to put rn in there. And when we click on this button, it should make a random image show up over here. So again, it's picking a random index from this array to display. Let's see if that works. And it's saying undefined, so I must have done something wrong. Rn image, rn equals math.floor. Oh, I have to put the rn in here. I didn't put that in there. It doesn't know what it's flooring. So you have to put the rn in here. So now it should be fine. And we hit the rock button. And there it is. So I don't mind making mistakes when I do this, because you might make the same mistakes. So you got to have rn in there. And so that's working. You can see there's random images always showing up over there, but there's only rock showing up here. So that's the first part of this. And then we're also going to have a message show up. So after we do this, we tested it out and it's working okay. Let's see where we are here. And we got our random number, and that's working. Now we're going to add our conditional statements. So we're not going to do anything with the message yet, because remember, the message depends on if we win or lose. So what we're going to do now is create an if conditional statement. So let's just go and do it. And keep in mind that you got to maintain the opening and closing curly brackets for this entire function. So these if conditional statements will have curly brackets in them. For example, I'm going to say if, and I'm just going to put parentheses, and then I could even just put curly brackets here and hit return. Now we're going to put a conditional statement in here. Now we have to put what the condition is. And what we're going to do, we're going to have to say, we're going to do it by win, lose, or tie. So I'm just going to put a comment here and say win. And I'll hit return. So this is if we win. Now, if we're rock and we win, we have to go up against scissors. So that means if the random image, if rn img rn, now you could just put the rn in here, but we'll do it like this. And we're going to use equals equals, because we have to make it, so we're testing equality. We're not assigning anything with a single equal sign. We did that before. So in here, we want to put equals equals, and if it's going to be scissors image, because that's the one we're going to beat, because rock crushes scissors. So we're going to put our winner in here, scissors img. So if rn image, that basically means if scissors comes up. If we're choosing rock, so if scissors comes up, we win. So that means in here, we can put our statement, our winning statement. And it's not going to be Y choice, it's going to be message. Now you might say, well, where's that? Down here, if you look, this is where their message is going to be, and it's actually called mess. So it's an H2 statement called mess. So we're going to use that as our target area down here. So we're going to highlight this and make sure that's mess. And the inner HTML is actually going to be a variable concatenating 2 variables, because we just won, so it's going to say you win, so it's going to be Y win because we won. Then it's going to say rock crushes scissors. So we're going to combine Y win and R mess. We won, and we're putting the rock message. We won with rock. So we're going to do Y underscore win, and then we're going to use a plus sign, and then say R underscore mess. Now we use a plus sign to concatenate, to put those 2 variables together, and we also have the space built in. If you look at the variables, we have a space built in, so they won't jam those words together. There'll be a space between them, so they'll look okay. Now, one other thing we'll do here is, since we know we're winning, we're going to make it green. So we're going to make it green here, and instead of inner HTML, we're going to say style.color equals, and then we could use green. So we'll use that. And what should happen if we win, meaning if we go up against scissors, it should show up in green. And let's try it out. Now we only have one condition. We're going to use 3. We're going to use if, else if, and then else, because we can either win, lose, or tie, but we're going to try the win. So this will only show up if we win. We didn't win, we lost. So it didn't show anything. Let's try again. We won, now it shows up. So that works. Now that's going to stay there. Even if we lose or tie, that'll stay there because we don't have anything to make it go away. Now once you have this and that's working, this is very easy to copy. Make sure you copy the curly braces with this. You're going to copy it. And this is going to be else if, because this is going to be almost like the second condition, and you need a space between else and if. And this one is going to be the lose. So who does Rock lose to? Rock loses to paper. So we're going to change this to paper. And then we're going to lose, so it's going to be C win is going to be the message. And it's going to be paper message because paper covers Rock. So we got to have to change that. It's going to be computer wins because paper covers Rock. And then it's not going to be green, it's going to be red because we lost. And let's try it out. There, we lost. Computer wins, paper covers Rock. So that works. Now we won because we crushed scissors, and it'll stay like that even through a stalemate. It'll only change when we win or lose, so we have to put the stalemate. And what we'll do is we'll copy this statement again. And this one we could just say else, and we can get rid of the whole condition because it's only going to be one other choice, so we don't have to put a condition. We could say if it's going to be Rock again, but we don't have to put anything if it's else. So we'll always keep this one. So we have win here. This one we could put lose, just so when we're looking through a lot of code, we can see it better. And then this one down here, we'll just say tie. So we're going to keep that because we're going to have the same thing for each button. So for this one, it's going to say the message will just be tie. That's it. And we don't have concatenating. We're not concatenating two things together. It's just going to say stalemate, try again. And then the color will be blue. So that's all we should have to change here. And we should have all our bases covered with this. So I'll save it and I'll hit Rock. And there's our stalemate. There's the win. There's the lose. So this is all working. So this is the hardest part here, that we have this function. And I'm actually going to put another comment here. And I'll say PickRock. And I'll put a dash here just so when I copy it, I'm going to update these so I see them a little bit better. So that way, because we have to copy this whole function, and make sure that you click on these top ones and you see the closing underline under this second, under the one down here. You should always see two separate ones at the end, two empty ones kind of next to each other at the end, and I'll take away the extra space. So that function works. That Rock is working perfectly. So we just have to duplicate this to paper and scissors, and that's actually pretty easy. I could do this in a couple minutes to be able to copy this. So if you copied PickRock, just make sure you copy everything, copy it, and then paste it, and just make sure where you're at. Go down here and make sure you change this right away to PickPaper, because we're always going to go in order, rock, paper, scissors. So this will be PickPaper. Right away, change the function to PickPaper. Don't mess that up. And then this is going to be paper image because it's got to show the paper image. That's the one that displays. This one will stay the same. It's always random. And the message, we'll go through this, but let's make sure we have everything else okay. And we'll stay in the order of win, lose, or tie. So now we have to get in the mindset that we're picking paper. Okay, so if I pick paper and I'm going to win, we have to go up against Rock. So this has to be Rock image because paper beats Rock. So now we're in Rock mindset. And we'll win, and we're going to put the P message because paper beats Rock. So we're winning with paper again. So that's why we're putting the P message. The message is always the one that won. So we won with paper, and it's green. So we don't have to change that. Then for this one, if we lose, who does paper lose to? Scissors. So we have to put scissors. You can even click that in there and make sure we get it right. Make sure we don't have any extra letters. Any mistake you do with variables, it's not going to work. And then again, if we're losing, it's C win. And it's the S message because scissors, I think we have S mess here. And because scissors is winning, scissors is going to cut paper. And it's red because we're losing. And then this stays the same. So that's really easy to do. We'll do one more here. And we'll just copy it. Now we didn't test it yet, but I'll test both of these. And I'll paste it. And I'll make sure it's the third one. And this is going to be pick scissors. So I have, and right away, right while I'm here, I'm going to put scissors in here. Everything's spelled right, because one spelling error is going to mess everything up. And you could even close these up. Go next to here, here's my function, and there's a little arrow here right next to function. You can close it up, and I'll close this one up. And there's my pick scissors. So I'm picking scissors, so it has to display scissors. So I'll say scissors image and get rid of the extra img. And that stays the same. And then if now we're scissors. So who do we beat? We beat paper. So we have to go here and we beat paper. And we're going to put S message because S is winning now when we win. We win now with scissors. And then going down here, who do we lose to? If we're scissors, we lose to rock because rock will crush us. So we'll make sure this is rock. And it'll be a rock message because whoever wins gets their message. And its computer wins. And it's red since we're losing. This should stay the same. So we have all our functions. So let's see how it works. Rock, that's working. Everything's working here. Let's try paper. Oh, none of them are working because we didn't put our events on our buttons. So let's put our events on our buttons. We have one here already, and I'm just going to copy this whole thing, including the space, and put it right here after the quote in the button ID. Put a space here, and put that. I think I have an extra space. And then I'll also put one here because I copied the space, except this is going to be pick paper, and this is going to be pick scissors. And I'll just make sure that these are right. Make sure they have their parentheses. Make sure they're in quotes. Sometimes this will look, you'll see the white on it when you click on it, and it'll go away when it's not. But that looks okay. Let's just see if they work. Let's try paper. I'm picking paper. I lost because it's scissors. I won because I'm covering rock. I'm stalemate because it's paper. So that seems to work okay, and I'm winning covering rock. Okay, let's try scissors. I'm losing because rock crushes scissors. I'm winning because I can cut paper. And let's just see if we get a stalemate. So everything's working. So that's the first part of this. If you got to this, that's pretty good. That's pretty much what we were able to do in class. So for the second part of this, I'll do the reset button, but that's pretty much what you're going to do now. You're going to make sure you save this, and you could turn this in. And what some people did was do the button, and I'm also going to record a video of the button part just so we have that if you need to do that. But there's a little more detail. It's not as easy as you think because we have to add another button. We have to disable buttons, and I'll show you where some of that code is that maybe we can copy some of that so we don't have to take so long. But I'll show you how that works in the next video. But at least for this one, this is Rock, Paper, Scissors updated for fall 19.